Behind the scenes, Donner faced an epic battle to convince Gregory Peck to perform the sequence.
He didn't think it would be necessarily good for his image to be seen killing this little boy at the end of a picture. And so he refused to do the scene that way, and Harvey sat down and talked with him and said, I'll tell you what. He said, we'll shoot it the way that you want, and then we'll shoot it the way I want, and we'll see which comes out the best.
The script called for the police to arrive just as Thorne is about to plunge the daggers into his son.
God, help me, please! Stop! Stop or I'll fire!
In a desperate attempt to stop the murder, one officer discharges his weapon, but achieving the slow-motion shot was more difficult than first imagined. Special high-speed cameras and unusually powerful lights were required to film an actual bullet being launched from a gun.
The intensity of the light was so strong to get the exposure that the wax on the bullet and the oil started to smoke and melt before we could even pull the trigger.
If the guy, was holding it in the right position in the lights for any appreciable time, it got so hot he couldn't hold it. So it was, timing-wise, a very tricky thing to shoot.
After a grueling 3-month production schedule in London, Jerusalem, and Rome, the Omen completed principal photography on January 2nd, 1976. Whether the film would be a monster-sized hit or a forgettable flop remained a mystery. But one thing was certain. The Omen curse was only just beginning. When studio executives first screened The Omen, they loved the film's haunting blend of tension and terror. But one thing they didn't love, the film's ending. In the spring of 1976, studio chief Alan Ladd Jr. instructed Richard Donner to return to Pinewood Studios and change the final scene, a feat the director accomplished by adding this simple funeral scene.
And all of a sudden you come on, you realize the kid's standing there, he's lived. And he turned and looked at the camera, and I said, just hold that face. I said, don't you dare laugh. If you laugh, I'll never talk to you again. And he was what to laugh, and all of a sudden this big smile came onto his face. It was just worth $1 million.
20th Century Fox executives were now convinced that they had a hit on their hands. Initially, the studio wanted to market the film as a horror movie, not a thriller. But Richard Donner and producer Harvey Bernard quickly complained to the head of Fox's marketing department.
Harvey started ranting, and I was ranting. You can't treat this movie like this. See what it is. It's a thriller. It's not a horror film. He says, hey, everybody relax. It's only a movie. Harvey went over the desk, grabbed the guy, put him up against the wall. Harvey said, to you, it's only a movie. To me, it's my life. I'm going to friggin' kill you unless you get this right.
The studio decided to hire a New York advertising agency. The campaign was simple and played up the prophecies in the Book of Revelation.
It was one of the great teaser campaigns I've ever seen.
Oh, God, the 666, coming June 6, 1976.
This series of posters, which is 90 days to the end of the world, 89 days until... and the curiosity factor in the country was very, very strong.
Despite Fox's current financial hardship, the struggling studio spent $2.8 million inundating the country with print ads and theatrical trailers.
There are those who will die for him.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
There are those who will kill for him. Who is he? What does he want? Where did he come from? And can he be stopped?
This is not a human child.
Was it a coincidence? Or was it an omen? The Omen.
Fox's publicity department reinforced the marketing campaign by playing up the so-called Omen curse with the press. the same time, writer David Seltzer released a novelization of the film which became an instant bestseller.
I think it came out about 5 or 6 weeks before the film, and definitely, you know, it cross-pollinated the audience for the movie.
Following a series of sneak previews around the country, audiences were in a frenzy to see the film. In its first weekend, The Omen grossed nearly $4.5 million.
The Omen was the #1 picture out of probably 500 movies that were released that year, and also the largest grossing picture in the history of 20th Century Fox Studios.
It just was phenomenal. I mean, people came and came and came and came.
Audiences loved the ambiguity of the storyline. Every death had a plausible explanation, but with an eerie twist. Was Damien evil? Or was he just an innocent victim of cruel coincidence?
There was a logical explanation for everything rather than making it a mysterious supernatural happening.
I interpreted it. It was always the Antichrist. I chose to believe that it was his fault. I mean, there was no accident in my mind as a maker of the film.
Many religious scholars applauded the film for inspiring audiences to read the Bible. In June 1976, the filmmakers were given an award by the California Graduate School of Theology.
I had met many people that only started reading the Bible because they saw The Omen.
What in God's name are you talking about?
Your son, Mr. Thorne. The son of the devil.
And many who got so scared that they went back to church for the first time after seeing The Omen.
But not all religious groups approved of The Omen. The Catholic League labeled the film blasphemous.
The basic premise of The Omen, and many films like it, is simply wrong because they're looking at the birth of the Antichrist, or signs to accompany a birth of the Antichrist, and that is simply not biblical.
The religious debates sparked by the film only served to increase audience awareness and drive up worldwide box office receipts. The Omen quickly became a pop culture phenomenon.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
The Omen brought the idea of the Antichrist into the mainstream. It also made the numbers 666 and the name Damien synonymous with evil.
The silent presence of this beautiful little boy, you know, with the birthmark, the telltale 666, made it very scary.
By January 1977, the film had grossed close to $70 million. That money helped cash-strapped 20th Century Fox complete several films, including a small science fiction film called Star Wars. Damien, a name that will forever be associated with evil. A name that conjures the dark mysteries of a once obscure chapter of the New Testament. It is a name that brings to mind the devil hidden behind the innocent face of a little boy. The force that causes us to question the true nature of God. And the real-life legacy. That is The Omen.